Today, a really weird Ryzen CPU was found, tons of benchmarks leak on Nvidia's next GPU, AMD is panicking, and the 4090 Ti is one monster of a GPU. Welcome everyone to Gamer Meld. Today's video is sponsored by PowerColor. First up for today, it looks like a very interesting new CPU was recently spotted on Gigabyte's website. As you can see, it's the Ryzen 7 5700, and what's interesting about this, besides the fact that it's yet another AM4 part, is that it's made from the Cezanne architecture. So instead of it being similar to say the 5700X, which is a Vermeer CPU, it's much closer to the 5000G series parts, meaning this is essentially an APU that's had its integrated GPU disabled. Now I will say that it looks to be sold in CyberPower PCs, so it may not be as new as everyone thinks. But it is one interesting part. As you can see, it's an 8-core 16-thread CPU with a base clock of 3.7 GHz and a boost of 4.6. It also has 16 MB of L3 cache and a TDP of 65 watts, so it's very similar to the 5700G. Who knows if it'll be sold directly to consumers or if it's only made for system builders. But first, if you're ready to customize your GPU, look no further than PowerColor's new Devil skins made specifically for their Red Devil 7900 series GPUs. They let you personalize the backplate, which gives it this really unique look without adding a bunch of RGB. Plus, if I do say so myself, they look amazing. What's even better is that they use magnets, which means you can swap them out in seconds. So add some style to your new GPU by visiting the link in the description below. Next up, with Nvidia's RTX 4060 right around the corner, Video Cards was able to get a hold of benchmarks from some reviewers before their reviews go live. Specifically, they were able to get multiple scores from 3D Mark benchmarks. In fact, they shared scores from Speedway, Port Royal, TimeSpy, TimeSpy Extreme, Firestrike, Firestrike Extreme, and Firestrike Ultra. Starting things off with Speedway and Port Royal, the 4060 beats the 12GB 3060 by 16.6% and the 8GB model by a shocking 58.4%. In Port Royal, it beats the 12GB 3060 by 17.2% and the 8GB model by 30.7%. Moving on to TimeSpy, the 12GB 3060 loses by 30.3%, while the 8GB loses by 55.3%. TimeSpy Extreme gets even worse for the 3060, with the 12GB model losing by 32.7% and the 8GB by 61.1%. Finally, we have Firestrike with the 4060 beating the 12GB 3060 by 19.8% and the 8GB variant by 38%. Firestrike Extreme got even worse for the 3060, with the 12GB 3060 doing a bit better in Ultra, but the 8GB model doing worse again. Ultimately, the 4060 beat the 12GB 3060 by an average of 23%, which is right around that 20% Nvidia mentioned, though I'm not sure if that was the 8GB or 12GB variant. Obviously, things will be a bit different in actual games than synthetic benchmarks, but these do at least give us a good idea. Don't forget that that card is set for release on the 29th, with reviews coming a day before. If you're interested in picking one up, I'll have affiliate links down in the description below. While speaking of Nvidia's RTX 4060, it looks like AMD is seriously panicking over the company's upcoming GPU. If you remember from my 7600 video, I told you how AMD lowered the GPU's price from $300 all the way down to $269 just a couple days before I had to have that video published. Well, it looks like multiple AIB partners have lowered the price even further, with MSI actually going as low as $250. Okay, really quickly, it does look like that price went up right as I was filming this, but there are other models that have discounted prices. And with that price change, every card also comes with a copy of Resident Evil 4 Remake, so there is definitely a lot of value here. Of course, this is almost certainly thanks to Nvidia's 4060, which as I mentioned is set to launch in just a few days. And as far as performance goes, given those 3D Mark scores, the 7600 should be pretty close in rasterization, but fall behind in ray tracing. With that said, the 7600 7600 isn't the only GPU that saw a price drop. AMD's 7900 XT just hit its lowest price ever. At Micro Center, you can pick up the PowerColor RX 7900 Hellhound GPU for just $699. Now, I will say that it depends on the store. A lot of them seem to have sold out, but as of the writing of this video, there are some left. Either way, it's clear that AMD's dropping prices to better compete with Nvidia's offerings. And lastly for today, it looks like Nvidia could be moving closer to an RTX 4090 Ti, as some new images have surfaced of a giant RTX 4000 Founders Edition card. Now, we have seen some pictures of this in the past, but now we can get a bit more scale, as it's shown here next to either a 3080 or 3080 Ti, and it's absolutely massive. I mean, the quad slot cooler is just shockingly big, and shows what has been rumored to be a 4090 Ti or Titan GPU. Now, with that said, this particular model's faceplate clearly says 4090, so there's a chance that this is an early prototype that Nvidia ultimately scrapped. With that said, we've seen quite a bit of evidence that Nvidia has at least dabbled in a more powerful GPU, like this giant gold card that has PG-137 on it, which was rumored to be a Titan card long before it appeared. Then there was a shipping manifest for a 48GB card with PG-137 on it, so it was definitely something at one point. Since then, the Titan card was rumored to have been cancelled, with Nvidia focusing on a 4090 Ti. So this would likely be the cooler Nvidia plans to use. Either way, this bad boy only has one 16-pin connector, so it can't consume any more than 600 watts. Plus here it's clearly missing the PCB, given there aren't any video out connectors. As far as specs, the 4090 Ti is rumored to have 18,176 cores, 96MB of L2 cache, and 24GB of GDDR6X memory. Ultimately, there's a chance that Nvidia also canceled the 4090 Ti, but if not, expect something like this. So while that does it for today, would you buy this giant 4090 Ti if Nvidia released it, or is it just too big? Let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget to pick up one of PowerColor's new devil skins in the description below. And as always, have a great day.